So we've talked a little bit about consequences. Remember that we want them to match whatever it is that they're doing. So every consequence, every time somebody does something wrong, it doesn't have to be laps at recess. Okay. If somebody accidentally spilled something on the carpet or spilled something on the floor, clean it up. There are consequences that you're going to have to clean it up. If while we're working in class, you're choosing not to work in class, then your consequence is that you have to do the work during your free time, or you have to do your work at home now, and you don't get to have that free time at home. So really think about how those consequences can really align to what it is that they're choosing not to do, um, and don't ignore it. Okay, but also don't over consequence to the point where nobody's happy and everybody's now it's blowing up into something it didn't need to be. Okay. Body language. Body language is super important. Um, as a teacher, our kids, they know based off of our voice tone and the way we're moving our body that we mean business. Okay. So when you're thinking about giving that concept, when you're thinking about giving your MVP, when you're thinking about narrating and giving that consequence, I want you to think about your body language and how you're planting your feet, you're squaring up, facing the students, you're making eye contact, not necessarily expecting that they look back at you, but just know they know that I'm looking at them. And sometimes if you need to get a little close to them, you can do that as well. But really use that power. It doesn't have to be a loud voice. We don't have to yell at kids for them to hear us. So think about how you can square up. Jeremy, the expectation is that you're level 0. That's your warning. I didn't have to yell. Why are you always talking, Jeremy? Oh, I know you know better. What are you doing? Mm-mm. Square up, eye contact. This is the expectation. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're working. So consequencing sounds like this. Jeremy, the expectation is for you to remain at a level 0. This is your warning. That's it. Now, if you're giving out warnings all day long, guess what's going to happen? The kids are going to realize that don't mean nothing. I'm getting warnings. I can get a warning all day and she's never going to talk to my mom. I'm never going to get a note. Nothing's ever going to happen from it. So find a way to track your consequences. Find a way to track it. If it's a sticky note, that's what I used to use. I had a sticky note and I would stick it onto my badge and I would just make a quick note. And it might just be like a tally mark. That's how I knew that was a warning. So I would write J1. That's how I knew Jeremy got a warning, or whatever it looks like. Maybe you have a clipboard with a piece of paper. That way I know that later on, when I ask the class to be at level 0 and Jeremy is again choosing not to do that, I know I already gave him a warning earlier. Now it's on to the next thing. Now I'm going down my hierarchy. Jeremy, the expectation is that you're at level 0. I want you to go to your seat and continue your work, because that's my next step in my hierarchy. If the next step after that is that now we have to go to a buddy class, then I already know that because I'm keeping track. Okay. Let's not just skip to get out of my classroom. Okay. If you haven't given a child a warning and you haven't given them a chance to kind of get themselves back together, we can't just automatically write them up or send them out. Okay. Track those consequences so that they know that you're paying attention and that you mean business when you say that you're going to have a consequence. So remember earlier this year, before we started school, Miss Moats talked about how we can rethink discipline. And we talked about those consequences and what that might look like. We're not going straight from a warning into a phone call home. Okay. Especially when it's something as simple as working at level 0 or, following a simple direction. Go down your hierarchy. Lose the privilege that aligns with what they're working on or what the consequence is. So if they're choosing not to work at a level 0, then the first minute of recess, we're going to have to practice what level 0 means. And it doesn't have to be the whole recess gone. Just kind of think about how that privilege can align, or that loss of privilege can align. And remember, we're not just jumping around. Go in that order. It's there for a reason. And if Jeremy was not working at a level 0 earlier, but this time Jeremy is running to my line, that's going to be a different warning. Earlier, I warned you about working at level 0. I'm starting over with the warning because it's a different behavior. So this time, Jeremy, the expectation is that you're walking to the line. Try again. That's your warning. That try again is a consequence. He can't get in line with everybody else like he wanted to.